There comes a moment in every man's life where he looks at the mirror and sees not who he is, but who he could have been. That silent reflection, that quiet confrontation, is where destiny is decided. Most people turn away. They drown that whisper in distractions, in excuses, in the noise of the world. But the rare few, the builders of empires, the creators of fortunes, the architect of progress, those few listen. They lean into that whisper until it roars, and they realize that success does not arrive by accident. Achievement does not come by chance. It comes by law, an invisible law, a law as precise, as real, as unbreakable as gravity itself. The law that what you think, you become. This is not poetry. This is not wishful thinking. This is the bedrock truth upon which every great life is built. Before Edison lit the world, the bulb was born in his mind. Before Carnegie built steel empires, the empire was constructed in the blueprint of his imagination. Before Lincoln held a divided nation together, he carried the unshakable belief of unity inside his soul. Every towering achievement you see in this world existed first as a seed, a vision, a thought carried with relentless faith. And here lies a hidden law of achievement. Your mind is both the architect and construction site of your destiny. Every belief you hold, every picture you create in theater of your imagination, every conviction you choose to plant in the soil of your subconscious becomes a structure you eventually inhabit. If you think small, you build small. If you think weak, you live weak. If you think in riches, in greatness, in discipline, in clarity, then wealth and purpose and mastery begin to bend themselves in your direction. The masses spend their lives worshiping what they see, while the giant of history worship what they cannot yet see. The masses trust the evidence of their current circumstances. The greats trust the evidence of their vision. That is a divide. That is a line between mediocrity and immortality. Think about it. Henry Ford was told his idea for an automobile was impossible, laughable, impractical. Yet he thought it. He carried that vision until it became reality. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Yet he thought it. He saw a kingdom in his mind long before a single castle was drawn on paper. These men were not magicians. They were not born with golden tickets. They were men who dared to think with such intensity, such persistence, such conviction, that the world itself had no choice but to bend to their inner vision. The truth is simple, but it is hidden because most people will not believe it. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are the author of circumstance. Every limitation, every chain, every boundary is first written in the mind. And every breakthrough, every revolution, every triumph is also written in the mind. If you dare to take hold of your thoughts, if you dare to discipline the chaos of your imagination and channel it into clarity, you will uncover the greatest secret that has ever existed. To think is to create. To believe is to become. But make no mistake, this law demands sacrifice. It is not enough to simply daydream. Idle wishes are the currency of failure. The universe does not respond to shallow desires whispered half-heartedly. No, it responds to burning obsession. It responds to a man who thinks with such persistence that his very blood seems charged with conviction. It responds to the woman who sees her future so vividly that her current reality appears temporary, fragile, unworthy of her loyalty. This is why most people fail. They think in bursts. They dream when it is convenient. They wish when life grows heavy. But they do not believe with consistency. They do not feed their vision every day. They do not bind themselves to their purpose with iron chains. And so their thoughts remain shadows, never crystallizing into form. But you, if you are listening to this, if your heart is awake to this message, you have the chance to stand among the rare few. You have the chance to take command of the greatest force ever entrusted to humanity. The power of thought, armed with faith, ignited with purpose, and disciplined with action. Because achievement is not luck. It is not given to the fortunate. It is forged by law. And the law is this: think it with conviction, hold it with faith, and you will become it. The greatest prison humanity has ever built is not made of stone or iron. It is constructed inside the mind. It is the prison of doubt, of fear, of hesitation. Look around you. How many lives have been reduced to quiet desperation? Not because the world denied them opportunity, but because their own thoughts shackle them before they ever began. The invisible bars are forged from the words, I can't, I'm not ready, what if I fail? And with each repetition, the bars grow thicker, the walls higher, until the prisoner forgets that the door was never locked in the first place. History shows us that every man who rose above the ordinary first had to break free of this prison. Abraham Lincoln, a man born into poverty, surrounded by loss and hardship, refused to allow his environment to dictate his destiny. He carried a vision larger than his pain, and in doing so, he became more than just a president. He became the symbol of resilience itself. Thomas Edison failed more times than most men would dare to attempt. Yet each failure was not a chain, but a stepping stone, because in his mind he had already decided. The light would exist because he had seen it within. The truth the world hides from you is that your thoughts are not harmless. They are architects. Each one sketches lines on the blueprint of your future. You may not see the structure rising immediately, but stone by stone, brick by brick, your dominant thoughts are laying the foundation of the life you will one day walk through. If you allow fear to sit at the drafting table, then fear will design your destiny. If you invite faith, persistence, clarity, and courage, then greatness will take form. The law of achievement does not play favorites. It does not care where you were born, what your last name is, or what wounds you carry. It does not bend to excuses. It does not negotiate with mediocrity. It simply mirrors your inner world until your outer world reflects it. That is why two men can be given the same circumstance. One will rise to wealth. The other will collapse into despair. The difference is not luck. It is the law. One thought himself capable. The other thought himself defeated. And the law fulfilled both visions with perfect accuracy. Look deeper into the stories of the greats. Andrew Carnegie, a poor immigrant boy, worked in steel mills. Yet inside his imagination, he saw empires of steel rising across America. His body may have been covered in soot, but his mind was covered in gold. That vision, held with burning intensity, drew opportunities, people, and resources to him as if pulled by magnetism. Was it magic? No, it was alignment. When man's belief, thought, and actions are aligned, the world cannot help but yield. This is where most people stumble. They think success is only about action, grinding harder, moving faster, working longer. But action without directed thought is like running in circles. Yes, you will sweat. Yes, you will exhaust yourself, but you will not advance. Action fueled by doubt is sabotage. Action guided by clarity, by conviction, by vision, that is creation. Consider this. Every invention, every empire, every movement that changed the course of humanity began with one person who dared to think differently. They did not wait for permission. They did not seek validation from the doubters. They believed with such intensity that reality had no choice but to catch up. And so the question falls on you. What are you thinking? What images dominate your mind when you wake, when you walk, when you close your eyes at night? Because whether you are conscious of it or not, those thoughts are seeds, and the soil of your mind does not discriminate. Plant weeds, reap weeds. Plant oak trees, reap oak trees. Your life today is the harvest of yesterday's thoughts. Your life tomorrow will be the harvest of today's. The tragedy is that most people outsource their thinking. They allow society, media, peers, and fear to plant the seeds for them. They wake up and water the gardens of other men's visions, while their own lies dry and neglected. And then they wonder why they live lives that feel borrowed, why their souls ache with unfulfilled purpose. The reason is simple. You cannot reap a harvest from seeds you never planted. But the moment you take ownership of your mind, the moment you say, I will be the master architect of my thoughts, everything shifts. You will notice opportunities that were invisible before. You will attract alliances that once seemed unreachable. You will walk with a confidence that cannot be explained, only felt, because the law is always waiting for you to command it. The question is not whether it works. The question is whether you will dare to use it. And so I tell you, guard your thoughts like a king guards his throne. Shape them with intention. Feed them with purpose. Hold them with faith so strong that the world cannot pry it from your grip. For in the end, achievement is not about luck, nor is it about chance. It is about law, and the law is unyielding. What you think you will become. Greatness is not a mystery, bro. It is a decision made first in the silence of thought, long before it ever shows itself in the noise of results. The law does not wait for you to be ready. It waits for you to decide. Because the moment you decide, truly decide, your mind begins to reorder itself. The doubts grow quieter. The excuses lose power. The obstacles remain, but they are stripped of their authority. Think of Alexander Graham Bell. Before the telephone existed, he carried in his imagination the sound of voices traveling through wires. Others called him delusional. Experts laughed. Yet he believed with such clarity that he spoke into reality what others could not yet conceive. And because he dared to believe, billions of voices today echo across his invention. His thought became a law, and the law made it real. This is why clarity is sacred. A mind without clarity is like a ship without a compass, drifting, wandering, colliding with rocks it cannot see. But a mind armed with a clear vision is unstoppable. It does not matter if storms rise, if waves crash, if the night grows black. The ship moves because the destination is etched into the captain's heart. That clarity turns doubt into dust and transforms resistance into fuel. But clarity alone is not enough. Vision without discipline is a dream wasted. You can think endlessly of greatness, but if you cannot master yourself, your own habits, your own time, then your mind becomes a battlefield where your higher self is constantly defeated by your weaker self. Discipline is the bridge between thought and reality. Without it, even the greatest ideas drown in the swamp of procrastination. Every man who has ever conquered life first conquered himself. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in his meditations not about conquering nations, but about conquering his own mind. Napoleon Hill himself declared that self-discipline is the master key to riches. Andrew Carnegie once said that no man can lead others until he can lead himself. This is why discipline is not punishment. It is liberation. It frees you from the tyranny of distraction. It liberates you from the chains of laziness. It gives you command over your own future. Understand this. The universe does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards persistence. The law of achievement bends only to the one who refuses to quit. Edison's 1,000 failures were not failures at all. They were rehearsals, necessary rehearsals. He understood that each so-called failure was a stepping stone, proof that the law was still in motion, shaping the vision in his mind into form. That is the mindset you must adopt. Not fear of failure, but faith in persistence. Ask yourself, bro, how many times have you stopped just before the breakthrough? How many times have you surrendered the vision because the mountain seemed too steep, the night too dark? What you didn't realize is that the law was working in your favor, but you abandoned it halfway. The oak tree does not sprout in a single day. The gold does not reveal itself in the first dig. The vision requires nurturing, faith, resilience. If you can hold on, if you can persist where others quit, you will inherit what others will never see. But let us go deeper. There is another layer to this hidden law: gratitude. Gratitude is not merely a soft virtue. It is a magnetic force. The man who is grateful for what he has multiplies it. The man who curses what he has loses even that. Why? Because gratitude aligns your mind with abundance, while complaint aligns it with scarcity. And the law, unyielding as it is, mirrors back exactly what you hold. Carnegie was grateful for the chance to labor in steel mills because he saw them not as chains, but as training grounds. Walt Disney was grateful for every failure because each one carved him closer to his dream. The greats understood that gratitude transforms obstacles into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, scarcity into abundance. It sharpens your focus on what is possible instead of what is missing. This is why gratitude is not weakness. It is power. It trains your mind to see the wealth that already surrounds you, to build from it, to expand it. And as you cultivate gratitude daily, you begin to realize that the law of achievement is not cruel, not distant, but generous. It gives back tenfold whatever you think with persistence and faith. So guard your thoughts, sharpen your clarity, bind yourself with discipline, and cover your path with gratitude. Because this is how the law bends in your favor. This is how thoughts become flesh, visions become empires, and ordinary lives become extraordinary legacies.